Okay, you have to see this. A foldable smartphone that looks like this when it's closed, but when it's open, it's impossibly thin. This is the Oppo Find N5, and I've partnered with Oppo to share with you my experience with it. And the best thing is I get to do this in beautiful Singapore. And I also brought along the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6, so I can compare these two in every single way. And I think this is gonna be a really interesting comparison, especially on the camera. I think you're gonna be surprised at the results. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. All right, first let's talk about design. So I think one of the biggest hurdles for most people when they consider book style foldables like this is how thick they are when they're closed, but the Oppo Find N5 took it to the next level. The Find N5 is only 8.93 millimeters when it's closed compared to the 12.1 millimeter Galaxy Z Fold 6, so it's much thinner. Even when you compare it to the iPhone 16 Pro Max, it's almost the same thickness, so no more worries about this being too bulky for your pocket. It almost feels the same as a flagship phone, so I think this is huge. When it is open, it is just 4.2 millimeters thin, so it feels unreal when you're using it. It is so thin that the USB-C port barely fits, so you get the idea. There's nothing like having a big display like this in your pocket, and it feels so light for this type of form factor. This is really an engineering marvel, and the hinge feels so smooth when opening and closing it. It has such an elegant and soft close. I'm really digging the hardware on this phone so far. I can guarantee that once you feel this in your hand, you'll be impressed, and it should remove those barriers that you might have about foldable phones. It has the alert slider, so I appreciate it, and it's so convenient to get to it. But if I had one slight gripe about this, is that the power button takes some time to get used to because it's a little bit higher up on the body. It took me about a day to get used to the muscle memory of the placement, but the great thing is you can just set it to double tap the screen to wake and lock the phone if you want, so I don't think it's a huge deal. I'm sure most of you are very familiar with the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 because this is the most popular book-style foldable that's on the market right now. So how does the new Oppo Find N5 compare? First, let's talk displays. The Oppo has a wider and larger cover display, so I personally like this better. The 6.62-inch LTPO 120Hz display feels more like a regular smartphone when it's closed, so I find it much easier to use on a daily basis, especially with typing compared to the more candy bar style cover display on the Z Fold 6. I do have Samsung's very limited Z Fold 6 Special Edition here with me as well, and that display is wider than the regular Z Fold 6, but it still doesn't feel as nice as the Oppo, so I think this is a great size. When the display is open, the Oppo Find N5 has a big 8.12-inch LTPO 120Hz display, and it looks incredible. It has an anti-reflective and polarizer-free coating on it, so sunglass wearers will appreciate this. I think another huge barrier to foldables is the large crease in the middle of the display that you can see and feel, like on the 7.6-inch display on the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. I don't find it to be a huge deal because you really do get used to it over time, but the Oppo Find N5 is the closest thing that I've seen to a non-visible crease. The anti-reflective nature combined with the new and improved titanium Flexion hinge really make this a non-issue, especially when you're looking at it head-on. Before you ask, yes, if you really look hard enough, you can see the crease, but you can't feel it like you can on the Galaxy Z Fold 6. It's smooth in the middle, so I think this is a huge leap forward for foldable phone displays. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 does have an external S Pen that you can buy with the case, and Oppo also has a pen that works with the Find N5. I was trying to buy it here in Singapore, but I couldn't because it was only for pre-order customers, but I'm going to try to get my hands on one so I can show you what the pen can do with this new foldable. So if you're worried about power, then don't be, because I believe this is the first foldable with the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset, so this is the most powerful processor that you can get on an Android phone right now. The Galaxy Z Fold 6 was released last year, so it has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, which is still very powerful, but you're getting the latest and greatest with the Oppo Find N5. I think one of the best things about having a foldable device is the gaming. I like the fact that you can choose how you want to game. If you want to be a little more discreet and play more casual games on the 120Hz cover screen, then that's more than capable, but when you really want to dive into games like first-person shooters, there's nothing like gaming on the big inner screen. It is so immersive, and since the GPU is up to 40% faster than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, if you're a serious mobile gamer, then the Oppo might be the better choice here. Just like it does in Singapore, it is raining, so I got to get out of here, but the launch of this phone is tonight at Marina Bay Sands. It's going to be really cool, so I can't wait to show you what the launch is like. Let's go. With the Oppo Find N5 being so thin, I was a little bit worried about the battery, but you don't have to worry at all because this has a huge 5,600 milliamp hour battery, and that is up from the 4,800 milliamp hour battery that was in the Oppo Find N3, and much bigger than the 4,400 milliamp hour battery that is in the Galaxy Z Fold 6. So the battery does not disappoint. I was using this phone to navigate all around Singapore, exploring, using it to tap to pay for train station and at convenience stores, casual gaming on the train during longer rides, posting videos and photos on Instagram and so much more. And I closed out the day with over 50% battery left, which is crazy. Even if I forget to charge, it's all good because it has 80-watt fast charging, so it can go from 0 to 100 in about 50 minutes, which is absolutely insane. And it also has 50-watt fast wireless charging, so you have choices with this phone, which is great. The launch last night from Marina Bay Sands, it was incredible. And that view from the top, you have to see it at least once in your lifetime. It was absolutely breathtaking. But before I jump into the camera, I want to talk about the software experience. There's no doubt that Samsung has been in the foldable space for much longer, so they have the most mature software experience, and I think that's the advantage that Samsung has had for a while. But Oppo is catching up, doing some neat stuff with software that makes the foldable experience great. Multitasking is so easy on the Find N5. All of your menu choices are right here when you click the 3 dots. I like that I can make an app a floating window if I want. I can even minimize it so I can get right back to it when I need to. Or I can do a quick split screen, which is the feature that I use the most on this form factor, and I think it's the most useful. I also like that if I want one of them to be larger, I can just swipe to prioritize it, and I'm not closing out the pair, it's still there, so I can easily go back and forth between them. I can even open 3 apps in a split view configuration, which is great, and I can just tap to jump in between them, and then I can just use a pinch gesture to get a full view of all 3 windows and then pinch back in when I need to. So this is really intuitive, and I can just swipe up from the bottom to get to the dock, and my last few recent apps are right over here in the corner, so the multitasking experience is smooth. One of the big surprises of this launch was O+ Connect for Mac. Oppo already has a way that you can share photos and videos easily and wirelessly to your iPhone, but that same tech is coming to the Mac for the Find N5, and it's really easy. Of course, you can share photos and videos from your Mac to the Find N5 really easy. I actually did this to edit this exact reel about the durability of the Find N5, which is absolutely wild, but the software goes beyond that. You can use the flex mode of the Find N5 to turn it into a Mac trackpad and turn the phone into a little mini laptop. You can remotely control the macOS interface with the multi-touch gestures, so all of it works seamlessly, and you can even just drag and drop files between the devices, so I'm super impressed with what Oppo has done here. I have this on my MacBook Pro right now and it's working really well, and I hope to see something like this for Windows users soon. I think it's gonna happen. Okay, so let's get to what you've been waiting for, and that is the camera. This is a triple camera system in partnership with Hasselblad. You get that flagship 50 megapixel sensor from the Find X8 series. You also get a 50 megapixel telephoto camera that is used now for macro photography, which I'll show you later, and an 8 megapixel ultra wide with autofocus and f2.2 aperture. And you also get 2 front-facing cameras on the inside display and the cover display, and they are both 8 megapixels as well. The camera software experience is familiar if you used an Oppo phone before, lots of different modes, including a master mode, so pros and photo enthusiasts will love this. Shutter speed is no problem with lightning snap. Check out how fast this is. You also get these cool film simulations, so you can get that perfect baked-in look if you want to match whatever environment that you're in. And what's amazing is you get up to 120x AI telephoto zoom, which is absolutely insane for a foldable. Now, I probably wouldn't use it daily unless you really need to, but what this means is that usable zoom levels like 30x and even 60x look way better than I thought, so having that power in a foldable is handy. Video is also solid on this. You get 4K 60 frames per second with Dolby Vision HDR. The video lens switching is very smooth on this, as you can see, but 4K 60 frames per second is not available on the ultra wide. You'll have to use 4K 30 frames per second. So how does this camera system stack up to the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6? Well, I spent this week exploring Singapore, taking a ton of photos and videos, so let me show you what I got. All of these photos are unedited straight out of the camera, so these are the same results that you would get. Both of these phones have a 50 megapixel main sensor, and during the day they both take great pictures, so it's going to be a preference thing. Of course, there are some white balance, contrast, and color differences, but honestly, daytime photos are good on almost all flagship smartphones these days. But I did notice that the Oppo Find N5 goes towards the more neutral colors when it comes to sky replication, but overall the Oppo does produce the brighter and punchier photo. You're going to see brighter shadow detail and the highlights are bumped up, so if you like this type of processing, you're going to love the Find N5. I notice this the most, especially when it comes to pictures of people. Just like the Galaxy S25 Ultra, Samsung has gone towards the heavy contrast on processing, so it looks like the Z Fold 6 has some of the same traits. Even though the skin tone is brighter on the Oppo, I find them more pleasing on my skin especially, but I think that has to do with the warmer tones, but let me know what you think. Both of them take great portrait mode pictures, and I took a lot of them here in Singapore. The biggest difference that I think you'll notice to everyday photography is having the 6x zoom on the Oppo Find N5. I think it's a great focal length to have with travel photography, and having it as an option right in the software next to the 3x lens is great. Both have 3x optical lenses, so I think this is the one that people will use the most, but the 6x is also really great to have, so the Oppo is more versatile. What really takes it to the next level though is that the Find N5 can zoom all the way up to a crazy 120x with telephoto AI, where the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 can go up to 30x, which is usually enough for most people, but 120x is crazy. Samsung does have a higher resolution 12 megapixel ultra wide lens, so keep that in mind, and it can also shoot 4K 60 frames per second video on the ultra wide, but during the day both of them look great when it comes to ultra wide photos. Normally I do not care about macro mode photos, but the Z Fold 6 does not have macro mode at all, so the Oppo already wins here. But since the Find N5 has a new telephoto macro feature, I thought I would give this a try, and I was absolutely blown away by how good it is. I went to Cloud Forest and I highly recommend coming here just to check out the mind-blowing structure and foliage, but look at these photos. They are so detailed and it is so easy to use. I just kept taking photos over and over again just because the results were so good, so if you're a fan of macro photos, I think you'll love the Oppo Find N5. Nighttime photos will also be a preference thing as well. The Find N5 leans towards a more natural nighttime look with darker skies and heavier contrast, which naturally increases the saturation, so let me know which style that you like better in the comment section below. That heavier contrast and processing style tends to control the highlights better, so I prefer the Find N5's pictures from the top of Marina Bay Sands. This view was just so amazing. They both produce nice results, but let me show you the other side of Marina Bay Sands through video. You can see the same results with the highlight control being a little bit better, but what surprised me was just how much clearer the nighttime video was on the Find N5, as you can see, and the noise in the sky is also better controlled as well, so this is what you can expect from the main sensor from both of these phones. You know, I had to test night mode on people, and they can both produce some nice images depending on the lighting condition. I prefer the slightly warmer skin tones of the Find N5 here, but the cooler tone on the Samsung also looks good. In certain conditions, they can produce a very similar photo, but I was surprised to see how over sharpened the Z Fold 6 can get under night mode. Take a look at Mark here. He looks so over sharpened, where the Find N5 looks soft due to the heavier noise reduction. So while I think the Find N5's night mode images can be slightly sharper, you can always add sharpness, but you can't take it away. For now, what I've been doing is I've been using this feature right here in the AI suite to enhance the detail to clean these photos up. The Z Fold 6 really brightens up the scene though, like daytime, where the Find N5 tries to replicate more of what you're seeing in real life. It doesn't happen in every photo like this one where the exposure is correct, but I found the Find N5 to be more consistent at night with the main sensor while I was in Singapore. Here's an example of the higher resolution 12 megapixel ultra wide on the Galaxy Z Fold 6 versus the 8 megapixel ultra wide that is on the Oppo, so let me know if you see a big difference. I took so many photos and videos from Singapore, so let me know if you want to see a full in-depth camera comparison between the two, or even against the Galaxy Z Fold 6 Special Edition, and depending on the feedback, I'll make it happen. So what do you guys think of the Oppo Find N5? Did it hit or did it disappoint? I can't wait to use it more. It's not cheap, and it will cost you if you want one, but I think this is a major step forward for foldables, and I think this will push Samsung and many other companies to level up book style foldables, so I'm all for it. Thanks for watching everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.